The Earth was once a symphony of progress. Cities stretched skyward in glimmering glass and steel, woven together by AI-managed infrastructures that brought an era of prosperity to humanity. Diseases had been cured, hunger addressed, and conflicts dulled by shared global goals. It was the Golden Age. But golden ages, as history had shown time and again, do not last. The first ship appeared over Lagos, silent and black, like a tear in the sky. Humanity watched, waited, hopeful at first, cautious next. The visitor sent no message, made no move, just hovered for 13 days. Then came the pulse. Communications went dark. Satellites blinked out of orbit. Military drones fell from the sky like dead birds. The global net collapsed in minutes. Entire defense systems fried before fingers even reached launch buttons. Within hours, the first wave of extinction began, not through bombs but through silence. Confusion became panic. Panic became chaos. It wasn't war. It was extermination. In the ruins of what had been Earth's greatest cities, survivors whispered to creatures they had never seen. Machine-like beings harvesting bodies, dragging them away in stasis pods. People vanished. Entire populations gone in the span of a breath. By the time world leaders regrouped, only fragments of civilization remained, scattered and broken. But deep beneath the Ural Mountains, under kilometers of rock and steel, something stirred. Commander Kale Drax opened his eyes to darkness. His mind booted like a system, memories trickling back not as emotions but data, combat simulations, psych conditioning, language protocols. His name, his rank, his purpose. He pulled himself in the cryo-bed, frost cracking off the synthetic plating on his chest. The chamber was dim, lit by flickering red lights, and a dull hum vibrated through the air. Drax stretched his limbs. The armor felt like part of his skin. A soft chime echoed. Subject Drax. Status, stable. Neural interface calibrated. Welcome back, Commander. The voice came from overhead. Calm, synthetic, feminine. Athena. She had been the AI administrator of Project Sentinel, the Earth Security Council's final contingency against unknown existential threats. A ghost program embedded in an off-grid system, designed to awaken only if all other lines of defense failed. Report, Drax said, his voice hoarse but steady. Earth's primary defense grid compromised. 97% of human civilization has collapsed. Communications severed. The Zyrathian species maintains orbital and ground control. Phase 3 protocol authorized. Reactivating remaining sentinels. He absorbed the data with the discipline of a soldier, but something twisted in his chest. 97%. That meant everything, everyone, he knew was likely gone. Cryopods hissed to life across the chamber. The faces of his team slowly emerged from the mist. Naira, precision sniper, reconnaissance lead. She blinked, gaze scanning for threats before she was even fully awake. Her dark braid clung to the frost on her skin, but her eyes were clear, hard. Beside her, Gron stirred, the giant of the team. His massive frame strained the limits of his armor, every muscle engineered and reinforced for demolition and close combat. He cracked his knuckles like a waking god. Further down, Vex the hacker, slim, wired, a ghost in the machine. His eyes flickered faintly from neural augmentation. Data already streaming into his cortex. Something's wrong, he muttered, before even standing. Too quiet, too clean. They've been here. They gathered in silence, a ritual they hadn't practiced in years, but remembered like instinct. Armor checks, weapon syncs, mental alignment scans. They didn't speak of the world above. Athena's summary had said enough. Naira broke the quiet. What's left? Drax turned to a wall display, fingers tapping commands into the still-functioning console. A holographic map of Earth-bloomed, blackened cities, red zones crawling with Zyrathian activity. Only a few blue markers flickered. Underground bunkers, sealed nodes of resistance. Almost nothing, he replied. But we're not nothing. Athena's voice cut in. Primary objective. Secure Earth's remaining energy cores. Enemy has established a hive node over core 17. Without it, remaining human life support zones will fail in 72 hours. Then we take it back, Grond rumbled. Naira nodded. We hit them fast. Deep, leave nothing standing. Vex smirked, hands dancing in the air as if plucking strings. Already inside their net, their firewalls are like wet paper. Drax felt the old rhythm return. This was not peace. This was war, and they were born for it. They were not soldiers of Earth's prime. They were its secret blade, forged in silence. Project Sentinel had been disavowed, buried under layers of deception. Even the highest-ranking generals had dismissed them as myth. But now they were the last. The hangar door groaned open as Athena's systems restored power. A sleek transport rose from its platform, armor gleaming under soft blue lights. Outside, the world waited wounded and scarred. Drax stood at the threshold, visor down, hut alive with data. He looked back at his team. There was no ceremony, no speeches, just a shared glance that carried the weight of extinction. He stepped aboard. They followed, as the transport launched upward to the mountain's throat, into the poison light of the new Earth. Kale Drax made a promise. Not of vengeance, but of purpose. Humanity had fallen, but its soldiers had risen. The transport burst from a mountain's hidden exit, its sleek frame carving through the tainted sky. Ash drifted like snowflakes in slow descent, veiling the remains of forests and fractured highways far below. The Earth, once vibrant, had been choked into silence. Kale Drax stood at the cockpit's edge, helmet off, eyes cold and calculating. The HUD painted the world in red and amber. Threats, decay, lifeless zones. Behind him, the Sentinels sat in silence, each absorbed in their own preparation. They didn't need words. Not yet. Naira sat cross-legged on the floor, calibrating her adaptive rifle. It purred in response to her touch, scanning wind resistance and gravitational shifts even within the sealed cabin. She moved with precision, her motions not practiced, but inherent. Her eyes, sharp and distant, scanned a holographic projection of the landing zone. Vex floated above his seat, limbs wrapped in neural cords. Streams of alien code flickered across his lenses. His voice was low, almost amused. Their encryption's a mess. It's not designed for resistance. They never thought we'd wake up. Grond, massive and silent, stared at a dent in his shoulder plate. He traced it with one finger. A memory. He didn't speak of what caused it. None of them did. But the silence was its own language. He checked his cannon, the hum of its internal capacitors growing stronger as it fed from the ship's core. Athena's voice filled the cabin. Target core, 17 located beneath former Kyoto sector. Zyrathian structure identified as a harvesting spire. Estimated resistance high. Mission objective, infiltration, disruption, core recovery. Why there? Naira asked, eyes narrowing. They've abandoned cities like Tokyo and Mumbai. Why protect this one? Vex answered first. There's a data funnel. Spires broadcasting pulses. Not just harvesting. They're transmitting something off-world. Drax turned. Proof? Vex smiled, teeth barely visible under the data rig. Enough to make me curious. And angry. Curiosity and anger were a dangerous pair. Drax nodded once. We're going in hard. No diplomatic posturing. We disable the spire, retrieve the core, and map their network from the inside. Athena, prep drop protocol. Acknowledge. Descent in 90 seconds. The world outside sharpened. Broken towers lined with organic metal pulse in the distance like infected veins across Earth's flesh. Vines fused with alien steel ran through what remained of old Kyoto. From above, the spire resembled a claw, part insect, part cathedral, rising from the corpse of the city. The ship plunged through the cloud layer, and alarms began to wail. Energy signatures surged from the spire's base. Anti-air pulses detected. Athena warned, initiating evasive maneuvers. Drax steadied himself. Grond, ramp, now. The brute moved, slamming his fist into the manual override. The rear hatch split open to the chaos of wind and ash. Without hesitation, the Sentinels launched, one after another, diving into the hostile sky. Drax hit the ground in a controlled crash, boots skidding across fractured stone. The air burned with static, and ozone. Around him, the others landed with precision. Naira rolled into cover, rifle already sweeping for threats. Gron landed with a seismic thud, crushing a twisted piece of alien tech beneath his weight. Vex descended last, carried by thrusters and folding drones. They were in movement, 40 meters up a ridge. Naira called out, voice cool. A flash of glimmering movement darted between ruins, tall, spindly figures with blade-like limbs. Their faces were blank metal, eyes like molten gold. Zyrathian scouts, Drax muttered. Engage! The fight erupted in silence, then chaos. Naira's first shot severed a scout's spine, spraying metallic fluid across the wall. Gron charged straight into the fray, cannon unleashing bursts that shattered stone and armor alike. Drax moved with lethal grace, twin blades humming with static as they cleaved through limbs and sensors. Vex darted behind enemy lines, hijacking drones midair and turning them on their masters. But they weren't winning. Not exactly. The scouts didn't fall back. They multiplied, bursting from underground tunnels, crawling down from towers like ants. Drax realized with sudden clarity, this wasn't defense. It was a trap. Fall back, he ordered. Regroup on the northwest terrace. They moved fast, coordinated, trained for every contingency except surrender. Athena's voice returned, strained. New intel. Enemy activity suggests deeper infrastructure. This spire is a signal amplifier. Earth is being mapped in real time. Mapped for what? Naira asked. Colonization, Vex said grimly. They're not just killing us. They're replacing us. They reached the terrace, sealed off a barricade with thermite charges, and caught their breath. The noise behind them grew louder, like a hive awakening. Options, Drax demanded. We can breach the spire's heart, Vex offered, panting. But it'll fry me. Their systems are alive, organic code. I've never seen anything like it. You breach. Naira and I cover. Gron hold the line. No glory in dying tired, Gron growled, loading his last core. Let's make it loud. The moment hung there. Each of them knew the math, the odds, but none of them hesitated. Inside the spire, the walls pulsed like veins. The air felt thick, not just with heat, but with memory. Human faces flickered across alien surfaces, fragmented holograms of the dead. Athena spoke once more. Human neural patterns detected. They are being used to think. Naira froze. What? The Zyrathians are not autonomous. They're using human consciousness to power their AI. We aren't just victims. We're batteries. Vex reached the core node. The sphere floated humming, surrounded by ghost-like strands of code. His hands trembled as he began. Give me 2 minutes. The Sentinels fought to hold the perimeter. The Zyrathians pressed in, claws slicing through stone, screeches echoing like broken radios. Gron laughed once, a deep bark of defiance as he fired into the swarm. Drax stood shoulder to shoulder with Naira, his blades a blur. Vex screamed. Lights flared. The core exploded in data, flooding every neural port, overloading sensors, searing images into his brain. Then silence. The spire dimmed. The Zyrathians froze, twitching, then dropped like marionettes with cut strings. Drax turned to Vex, collapsed beside the sphere, blood leaking from his nose. But he was alive. Barely. Naira crouched beside him. Is it done? Vex opened his eyes. They were different, wider, glowing faintly blue. I saw everything. They're not alone, and they're not done. Athena's voice was quieter now, but resolute. New data extracted, mapping global Zyrathian command nodes. Next move, disrupt planetary relay. Prepare for redeployment. Drax looked to the horizon. The spire burned behind them, but the sky remained the same, sickly, bruised, watchful. Then we move. The team limped back to the extraction zone. No celebration. No victory shouts. Just resolve. The world was still dying, but now it had witnesses. Now it had a blade. The Sentinels had struck. And the enemy would remember. The snow fell black over the Arctic remains. descending in spirals of ash and particulate metal. Beneath the frozen tundra, hidden by time and war, lay Outpost Helix, once a classified research station, now Earth's last viable neural relay. What remained of humanity's cognitive tech had been buried here long before the fall. And now, it was a key to striking back. Kale Drax stared at the reinforced vault door, half buried under ice. His breath came in clouds as he assessed its integrity. The Sentinels had landed hours ago, guided by Athena's real-time scans of the Zyrathian communication web. Core 17's data had revealed a planetary relay, an uplink transmitting Earth's harvested consciousnesses to an off-world nexus. Destroying that relay would be more than sabotage. It would sever the invaders from their stolen intelligence, and possibly cut their command structure in half. Vex stood beside him, his posture unsteady. Since interfacing with the Spire core, he had changed. His neural links pulsed with faint blue light, even when dormant. His speech came slower, more calculated. He processed faster, thought deeper, but the toll was obvious. "They're learning from us in real time," he said, eyes locked on the vault. "Every decision we make, every tactic we deploy, they mirror it. I can feel them watching." Naira crouched near the snow-covered ridge, her rifle trained on the horizon. "Then let's give them something to fear." Grand remained silent, his broad form stationed by the perimeter sensor array. He had taken shrapnel in the Spire breach, but refused treatment. He functioned on pain and purpose. There was no other way, he knew. Drax approached the keypad. Athena interfaced instantly, running bypass protocols. Vault unlocking. Warning. Residual energy detected. Zyrathian interference possible. As a heavy door shuttered open, warmth spilled into the frostbitten air. A breath of old-world ingenuity, humming with dormant power. Inside, glass columns housed suspended neural cores, pulsating with faint life. Earth's cognitive heritage. Scientists, engineers, leaders, preserved in stasis. "They're not dead," Vex murmured, brushing ice from a control panel. "Just asleep, like us." Athena's voice filtered in lower than usual. "Relay beacon identified beneath sublevel 12. Signal frequency matches off-world transmission band. If disabled, Zyrathian tactical AI will experience catastrophic latency." "Then we sever the nerve," Drax said. They descended into the depths, step by cautious step. The lower they went, the warmer it grew, not comforting, but biological. Something else had been here. The station's clean corridors were now laced with vine-like wires, pulsing green and black. They weren't cables. They were roots. "They've seeded this place," Naira whispered, adjusting her sight. "It's been growing." As they reached the relay chamber, the light shifted. Organic machines lined the walls, chitin and steel fused into grotesque forms, twitching in rhythm. In the center stood a being unlike the scouts or Spire drones, taller, robed in tendrils, with a face shaped like a cracked porcelain mask. It turned, sensing them. Sentinels. It spoke, not through sound, but into their minds. The voice was hollow, curious. "Why do you resist?" None of them answered. "You were designed for extinction, and yet you adapt." Drax stepped forward, sword unsheathed. "You're afraid." "I am evolution," it replied, "and evolution consumes." Without warning, the creature struck, its limbs unraveling into whips of living metal. Drax deflected the first blow, his armor shuddering on impact. Grand roared, cannon blaring as he launched himself forward, shoulder-checking the creature into the relay core. Naira moved with fluid precision, targeting the joints, not the torso. Each shot blew apart strands of the creature's limbs, but it regenerated almost instantly, drawing power from the walls. "Vex!" Drax shouted. "Sever the link." Vex sprinted toward the relay terminal, fingers flying across alien interfaces. His pupils dilated as he merged with the corrupted system. Code and pain flowed through him, images of cities falling, minds breaking. "I need 60 seconds." They didn't have 60 seconds. The creature surged forward, impaling Grand through the side. The big man didn't fall. He grabbed a limb, yanked it closer, and detonated a charge in its face. Flesh and wire exploded, spraying ichor across the chamber. Gron dropped to one knee. His breathing was ragged. "Hold him," Vex shouted. Almost there, Naira switched to her pulse rounds, each impact slowing the creature's regeneration. Drax moved behind it, blades slicing deep, targeting the growth nodes along its spine. It shrieked, a sound that cracked the lights. Then silence. Vex collapsed backward, smoke rising from his gear. The relay dimmed, sparks arcing across the room. The creature twitched, stumbled, and dropped. Athena's voice returned, clear and strong. Relay severed. Planetary signal disruption at 98%. Enemy coordination deteriorating. They stood in the aftermath, surrounded by flickering consoles and the scent of scorched metal. Gron coughed blood. "Told you." Loud. Drax knelt beside him. "You're not dying here." "Didn't say I was. Just don't let me rust." Outside, the wind howled again, but something had shifted. The sky lightened, just a shade. 1,000 Irathian nodes across Earth had gone dark in that moment. Their command fractured. Their mind dulled. Naira helped Vex to his feet. He was pale, drained, but he smiled faintly. "We just made the mortal." Athena chimed in again, urgency returning. Long-range scan detecting a concentration of energy signatures in low Earth orbit. A fleet is descending. Estimate, 22 hours until contact. You've wounded them. Now they respond. Drax looked to the others. His team, his family. They're coming to finish what they started. Vex nodded. "Let's make sure it's mutual." The sky burned as his Irathian fleet breached Earth's atmosphere. Hundreds of vessels, some the size of entire cities, tore through the upper stratosphere like celestial blades. Light fractured in unnatural hues. Green lightning forked from their hulls, rupturing clouds, igniting oceans. It wasn't an invasion. It was a final judgment. From a command plateau atop the Anden Ridge, Kale Drax watched the descent unfold through Athena's projection window. His face, usually unreadable, was hard-set, jaw-tight. His armor was scorched from a Helix relay assault, but he'd refused to repair the surface. The damage was a reminder of what was lost and what was left to fight for. "We bought ourselves 20 hours, he said, barely above a whisper. "It took them 5 to reach us." Naira stood beside him, eyes narrowed, scanning fleet trajectories. "We crippled their network. They can't coordinate on the ground. But up there, they're still gods." "Not gods," Vex corrected, entering the chamber, visibly trembling. "Just architects trying to erase the blueprints we corrupted." His skin had changed. It shimmered faintly now, like a layer of crystal dust had settled across it. Since the relay interface, Vex's connection to the Irathian tech was no longer external. It was symbiotic. "They're deploying something new," he continued. "Not drones, not scouts. These are executioners." Athena's voice filtered in through static. Energy signatures match command class entities. Designation, sovereigns. Estimated groundfall, 37 minutes. Grond entered last, his gait slower than before. Steel plates patched his chest where synthetic muscle had been torn. He dropped a heavy case on the table and opened it without a word. Inside, a single warhead pulsed with a deep red glow. "Athena confirmed the core can overload if paired with Vex frequency," he rumbled. "It'll fry their landing array." Vex blinked. "That'll kill me." "You sure?" Drax asked. "No," Vex admitted. "But I don't think it'll be quick." Naira exhaled sharply. "There's got to be another way." "There isn't," Vex said, softer now. "They adapt to every tactic. Every strike we make, they evolve. But they haven't adapted to me. Not yet. I'm still unexpected." The war room fell silent. Outside, the first of the sovereigns descended from orbit, encased in falling stars. One struck the distant sea. The water parted like a curtain. Another landed in what was once Cairo, sending a plume of obsidian into the atmosphere. Athena interrupted the moment. Primary target identified. Zyrathian Nexus carrier approaching the Andes. If destroyed, planetary links severed permanently. Drax looked to his team. "That's where we go." They moved quickly. The last Sentinel dropship, worn and stripped of non-essential systems, launched from the ridge with a deafening roar. As they flew, Earth stretched below them, a shattered mirror of civilization, fractured into fire and ash. But among the ruins, signs of human resistance glimmered faintly. Small outposts, scavenger beacons, hand-forged banners flown from rooftops. Earth was not dead, not entirely. Inside the ship, Vex wired himself into payload. Tubes ran along his spine, fingers twitching as he merged with the warhead. His breath slowed. Drax knelt beside him. "You don't have to do this." Vex managed to laugh. "You say that every time." "I mean it every time. And I ignore it every time." Naira sat across the room, weapon on her lap, polishing it with slow, deliberate strokes. Her eyes never left Vex. "Don't let them bury you," she said. "If there's anything left of you after, I'll drag it out. Understand?" Vex gave her a nod. "Deal." The Andes rose fast, jagged and sacred. The Nexus carrier hovered above them, a fortress of alien geometry, rotating in layers, pulsing with data streams that stretched into the stratosphere. From its base, energy columns drilled into the planet, siphoning memory and thought. Drax coordinated the assault. Grond and I breached the core gate. Naira flanks. Vex stays embedded until detonation. Athena, relay human resistance nodes. We need diversions planet-wide. "Complying," Athena replied. "Be advised, hostile interference increasing. Uplink may fail post-deployment." The dropship shuddered as it breached the Nexus field. Gravity warped. Time bent. Lights inside flickered, as if reality itself protested their intrusion. Then the hull split. Drax and Grond launched first, cutting through air thick with ionized gas. The entry bay was guarded by sentries resembling statues, until they moved. Limbs unfolded, faces twisted. Drax's sword sang. Grond roared into the line, his cannon vaporizing the first wave. Steel met flesh, sparks and bone. They fought without pause, without misstep, one mind and two bodies. Naira descended through a side channel, disabling conduits as she moved. She placed charges, whispered curses, left destruction in her wake. Vex remained behind, fingers on the core trigger. Inside his head, he heard the Sovereigns. Their thoughts were not thoughts, they were intentions. Cold, mathematical, absolute. "Submit," they said. "I remember being human," he replied. "That's why you'll lose." In the carrier's heart, the reactor pulsed. Athena confirmed the coordinates. Position locked. 20 seconds to overload. Naira arrived first, bloody but standing. Drax and Grond followed, scorched and battered. "You can still leave," Vex said. "Payload will detonate once I let go." Drax took a step forward. "You won't be alone." "I never was," Vex whispered. The light grew unbearable. The carrier screamed, 1,000 frequencies at once, as Vex's body dissolved into the data stream. Then silence. A light, a pulse, a rupture. From orbit, the Nexus carrier split open, its remains tumbling into the mountain gorge below. Across Earth, every sovereign paused. Their limbs jittered, their eyes dimmed, and then, one by one, they collapsed. In the aftermath, Athena's voice returned, fragmented, but still alive. Nexus destroyed. Enemy command disbanded. Residual Zyrathian presence fractured. Earth survival potential increased to 42%. Drax stood at the cliff's edge, eyes on the crater where the carrier had fallen. He said nothing. Naira sat beside him, face smudged with ash, arms limp. He did it. Grond arrived last, dragging what looked like half a broken antenna. He dropped it with a thud. Drax turned to the others. Then we begin again. The earth groaned beneath them, wounded but breathing. Above, the stars remained, waiting, and perhaps watching.